Welcome back to the Unreasonables, and this time, instead of a podcast or a discussion, we're going to be hosting a debate between Civilized Debator and uh, Conley.
Yeah.
Okay, so for our first question, we're going to be using Ron's question, which Civilized has already heard this question, so I hope it's not an unfair advantage or whatever. But the question is, what are your views on the minimum wage and what should we do with it? And if you did something with it, how do you think it would help with the people and the economy?
Now, who's this question being aimed at?
Both of you, let's go civilized first.
Well, first of all, minimum wage um, in a society like an American society would be more efficient than, let's say, one like in Puerto Rico, because we have such a good economy, such an efficient economy. We can afford to have a minimum wage. But if we were to upgrade it to what Conley is proposing of a $17 minimum wage in his country, um, all businesses would go out of business. They would have no more money. The supply would run out. They couldn't pay for anything. I
Um,
don't know how Conley can justify for having such a high minimum wage. I would like him to respond on why he supports a high minimum
why would
wage.
businesses go out of business?
Well, because they would either have to cut their workforce in half, or they would uh, they would go out of business. So that would also lead to a lot more unemployment, a lot more opportunity lost. Businesses wouldn't just go out of business; they would also leave the United States. Um, it's a loss for everyone. And once you increase the minimum wage, inflation also rises. So that's my answer.
Okay, now to Conley.
Well, I do believe in a $15 minimum wage, not $17. This is what I implemented in my own region of Mantella, which is another country on this AP mock, not AP, this mock government.
Excuse me. Your
But the
microphone, your microphone's a little muffled. Doesn't sound very good.
Uh, does it sound better now?
Yes, it
Yes.
does.
All right. So I really do believe that a $15 minimum wage would be really efficient. And I have my facts based in California, where, and I haven't read this article in a really long time because it was about a month ago, but the minimum wage that increase there turned out to actually boost a business for smaller business. And this is a really good thing for, economics in the long run, because a lot of people can't actually survive on $7.50 an hour. And this is already backed up in the Bernie Sanders campaign, and I think this is one of the reasons why it gained a lot of steam before it died out. Late in June of last year. Hold on, real quick, guys.
This will cut into your time, whatever you're doing.
I want to know those commie sources. It's probably Salon,
All
BuzzFeed.
right, I'm back.
You
Um,
have about 30 seconds.
all right, so I can always point to California, but I can always, say that most people cannot survive on on $7.50 an hour, which is the federal government's rate right now. We need to raise it so we can allow, because not everybody is a teenager working behind a desk. I mean, this doesn't apply to, every fast food place. It also applies to other businesses that rely on the minimum wage to deal the wages to its patrons and its employees, not patrons, to its employees. And so this affects a ton of other people, not just fast food workers, and we need to remember that.
What you can go ahead and respond to that 30 seconds civilized.
Well, I don't agree with that because, like he says, in a $15 minimum wage country, um, we're forcing all these businesses to pay these workers who most of them don't even deserve $15 an hour, and I believe in equality of opportunity. So first of all, everything is going against me in the American system currently, so can't really say anything about it. But in my world, equality of opportunity means you have the opportunity to make that much money. You don't just deserve to make that much money. You have to actually work for it. There is no reason we need to be giving everyone in this country, everyone, $15 minimum wage just because they have a job. It has to be justified.
That's time. So, Conley, my question to you is how do you think this will help the poor if companies can have to pay more to hire their employees?
My question, the question you gave me, my response is millionaires and billionaires in this country make hundreds of millions of dollars off the backs of their, the people that they hire. And I don't, a communist standpoint as well as forced labor. No, it isn't, because you decide to work for that job. But I do think that employers need to give basic necessity to their employees who they
But
decide to hire.
okay, but how is it going to help the poor?
Okay, so it's going to help the poor by giving them more money so they can spend it into our economic system, because if
But
they are too worried, and this also ties into another argument of healthcare and education, which in Mantella, the region I have, I give it for free because
all
I
right,
believe that
that's
if
time.
families need to worry about that,
Uh,
they can't afford.
just so you know, that's not how it works at all. But we'll move on to the next question, which I guess will
That's your
be,
opinion.
which I guess will be, how how would you deal with the how would you deal with regulations? Would you implement more regulations or decrease regulations? And if you were to decrease regulations, which ones would you cut?
This aimed at me.
Yeah, we'll start with Conley.
All right. Well, I do believe now, if I want to start off with regulations, I would cut. I would cut off any type TPP type things that don't favor our types of business. I mean, that don't favor our types of trade deals that other businesses can make rich off of. And we have to, if we're going overseas, and these workers like an Apple, like that make these iPads and iPhones, they get treated badly. I think that we should put regulations down on them for more of a sales tax.
But how would you? But so wait, you want to put regulation on businesses that go overseas?
Yes,
But how would you regulate that? So like explain, because you can't force any
you
regulations if
can.
they're in China.
Well, you can. A sales tax is something. It's called an import tax.
Yes, okay, that makes
And
sense, but that's not a regulation. But okay, continue.
a regulation, what I would do, I really do favor environmental taxes. Like, a company cannot pollute the rivers around it because it could negatively affect the citizens in that certain area. I also believe that maybe we should have lower business taxes for businesses so they can actually hire more workers and they don't need to pay as much to the federal government.
Civilized.
Well, most regulations, all they do is decrease efficiency and maximum economic growth in our economy. And if we're going to have all these regulations, all these taxes, we need to justify it somehow. So, and also with all these regulations, all these taxes, all that's going to happen is prices are going to go up, wages are going to go down. So you can't justify having these regulations.
And environmental regulation.
An environmental regulation is just another regulation that slows down economic growth.
Now, can I respond to this?
Hold up. Civilized, which regulations would you cut?
Um, like Conley said, most of the TPP, those trade deals that don't favor American businesses.
But regulations.
I'm not sure. Probably the environmental regulations.
No, can I debate that?
Yeah.
if we give businesses, okay, so this is a really good example in Flint, Michigan, where people in these areas have been negatively affected by companies who take advantage of the resources around them, pollute the water, and then leave, ditching the people, ditching the jobs opportunities in that area, and leaving polluted rivers where the people around that area will get sick and they have no way to climb themselves out. And this has happened way too many times in the state of Michigan and in the Rust Belt in general, and been shown off in Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Minnesota even. So I think that, cutting environmental regulation, one, it matters what kind of regulation. You can't just say in a wide civilized. So can you stop moving your mic around like that, or you good?
Yes.
All right. So I think that you can't just cut environmental regulation or just say in general, regulation just, kills business or it destroys efficiency because one, you never specified, efficiency in general, and you also never specified the regulation because not all regulations are bad. And if anything, they could either help the people around them because business, what is always good for the business isn't always what is good for the people. And we need to remember this. That's
Uh,
that's my
well,
response.
30
um,
seconds, Civilized.
well, yes, I do support some environmental regulations, like regulations that mainly stop pollution.
Well, you just said cut environmental regulation. So how does
Well,
that
you're
make sense?
but you're asking what specific type of environmental regulation.
Well, no, you said you should cut regulation because it slows down efficiency, which you haven't defined yet.
Efficiency, as in market efficiency, as in commerce, as in making profit, as in paying wages.
So for businesses just to make a profit.
Yes.
All right. Well, I wouldn't say that it does affect it. If anything, uh, it actually allows them to keep business because if people aren't getting sick, like if a company is polluting the air with coal, which can actually take out, uh, the atmosphere and making it so people are sick, more people die because of that. It draws business out, and this is kind of a childish answer, but I mean, think about it.
Well, okay, just real quick.
You're a moderator, by the way. You can't
Okay,
butt in.
all right. I'm just gonna say that you say that this or that draws business out. Obama and his regulations killed the coal industry.
Oh well, I'm not saying that Obama is always, the saint here. I actually hate the fact that he supported TPP and he still is doing it, even though he's oblivious to the fact that it hurts American business. But I think the coal industry needs to advance. I don't think that there should be continuing. I don't think we should continue coal in this country because it destroys the environment. And even clean coal, which is pumped into the ground, that's where all the pollutants because it gets released as air. But you got to remember where does all this extra stuff go? And it gets pumped into the ground and then it pollutes the water supply.
All right. Next question. So we're on economy, right?
I mean, it could be anything, honestly.
All right. So anything. What are your opinions on drugs? All drugs.
Who is this shot off to?
Let's start with you, Conley.
All right. Well, I believe that all drugs in this country should exist. I just don't think that if because this is actually shown in 1920 one, I think it was. No, 1919. It was the Prohibition era, and it lasted all the way to I think
Are we
35.
talking about narcotics here? Or are you talking about
We
like
are,
medicine?
and I'm giving an example from a time before.
Okay.
So, in the when alcohol or any liquor drinks were banned, um, we had bootleggers, we had crime on the streets.
Organized crime.
Yes. Please, you're not really supposed to, butt in. Thank you though. That you are right. Um, we had a ton of organized crime in the streets, and this is where like the Chicago mobster kind of popped up, and it's because of the Prohibition era of how the U.S. government, decided to ban alcohol. Well, we fail to recognize in this moral, and I put that in quotes, this moral obligation that we had by these religious groups, because that's what it was at the time. It was the Prohibition era was led by religious groups because it was like not a touch of liquor touches my lips, you're not going to be able to kiss me or anything. So this is where that movement came from. And you can kind of say the same thing for here. I mean, the war on drugs has caused so many kids of color and uh, so many, so much profit that
All
could be
right,
given to the U.S.
that's
government.
that's time.
It's gone.
So let's go to civilized.
Well, I also believe in ending the war on drugs. All I think it brings is more organized crime, um, and it leads to more usage. So I would be in favor of almost legalizing all drugs.
Yeah, but keep in mind, right? So we don't have people putting elephant
GRA,
tranquilizer.
hold up. GRA, it's a debate between Conley and civilized. So no, not really. All right, continue, Conley. Sorry.
Well,
I think that if we put if we put clean needles out to the people who need them and open up therapy centers, we can actually stop the war on drugs without jailing people, ruining people's lives and careers, and making it so we have clean narcotics up on the streets and not, people dying even though they are already killing themselves using these drugs. I do think it's better though that we give them cleaner drugs so that they can, slowly move off of it. And we're not going to give it out for free, but we are going to say, okay, well, if we legalize all these and we put them on a market, we can actually, one, profit, two, we can help these people because we can pay for the therapy, and three, we can make it so people die less because somebody put elephant tranquilizer in their heroin or any type of other narcotic or some other terrible drug that could end up killing them because
So
drugs are becoming more and more dangerous.
Conley, GRA says, pay how?
Well, this is actually a great question because we can pay for this by using the drug money that we gain from regulating the market and kind of like sweeping in the dough. We can actually pay for these therapy centers to help people.
So next question for you guys will be, how will you deal with our budget and our $22 trillion debt? Somehow I already know what Conley's gonna say.
Is this aimed at me
Let's
or?
start with civilized.
All right.
well, I think that we need to let our economy grow. I think that we need to focus on bringing back jobs and opportunities for everyone in this country. Um, I don't believe that. I don't believe that it will help at all by uh, trying to raise the amount that we actually have in the budget to pay off the debt because that just takes away money and doesn't actually do anything good with it. We may be paying off the debt with higher taxes, but we're not helping the economy at the same time. We need to deflate our debt at a rate that the market can survive at.
Conley, how would you address the budget and the debt?
Well, what I would do, I would actually address, and this is kind of a surprise to you guys, but I don't want to raise taxes. No, but what I want to do is I don't want to raise taxes because one, that's a burden on the American
We're
taxpayer.
not talking about taxes. We're talking about
I
simply
know, but this
spending.
is this is going to wrap into it. I think we should have the programs that we already have now. It's what is it called? Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all these other ones. I think we should take the VA down. I think we should get all these other programs. We should take them down. Then we should add newer programs that are more efficient, gets rid of the bureaucratic, unnecessary spending, and we get rid of all these, corrupt type of deals. Like it's called the Iron Triangle, and in the Iron Triangle, something that costs $20 could cost over $400, and this is a fact actually that plagues the U.S. government, and this is why we have a spending deficit because we are ending up spending more than we actually need to. And I'd also lower the military and promote more advanced technologies so we can compensate for the loss of staff. Like we have 1.6 million military members. I'd probably make that 1.43 and replace it with technology that could obviously make it so we don't have to. Because remember this: every person needs a uniform, they need a gun, they need a health insurance, they need life.
Wait. You're missing something very critical. We can't cut the military because we have to invade France.
Dude, you're a moderator.
You have to invade France.
We don't have to invade France.
All right, whatever. Frenchie. Continue.
Whatever, dude. Stop. Come on, man. You're cutting into my time.
Continue.
Stop. Stop. All right. What I'm just saying here is that if we, if we have less military members and we advance more technology, that could save us a lot of money. Not right now, but
So-
no longer.
Would you said that you would cut Social Security, health, Medicare, Medicaid, and replace them with new, more efficient programs? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Well, if I
And
could,
I mean, this is
All
a
right.
whole other debate, by the way. Let me just say that, all right? Because these other programs, even though it does sound pretty vague, I do have an entire plan set up.
I would very much like to hear this plan because all I can hear is spending comes out, more spending comes in. That's all I can hear. So I need to hear your actual plan.
Well, all right. So my first new government program would probably be single payer healthcare, which is one of the most. Which hold on here, because not every single payer healthcare plan is the same. I mean, every country has a different form of it, and I think it works better if we break them up like into how you have the four. What are they called? Zip codes. If you break things up into zip codes and you pay for them that way, so we have smaller populations, we can pay for it more efficiently using the resources in that zip code region, and pay for it like that. That's what I believe, and it may not work. And I'm not saying it might. I'm not saying if it will or will not. But that's just always an idea that we could always put up on the table. And I also would redo the VA, and it would also tie up into single payer. And I think that if we cut the military, we can put less of a burden on these social programs. Because the VA, I mean, if somebody comes home with an arm and a leg gone off, that costs us thousands of dollars. I mean, that is so terrible. So we should, get out of military type expenditures. We should stop, being the police of the world and just kind of draw back a little bit, but do have a bigger say in foreign affairs. And this could actually help us save a ton. If we replace the multi-payer system that we already have in this country with the single-payer system, it could potentially save us around $500 billion a year. And this would only benefit the American people. Now, it is plagued by long wait times, but I will always, say that it is better for us to have longer wait times than you paying $5 to $10. And I'm not saying like in Canada, because they have a ridiculous wait time list. It's like, I don't know, like for you to get like a kidney or something, like the wait list is just terrible over there. I obviously hate it. And a lot of my conservative constituents will actually pull that up, and I agree fully. But this is why every system is different. And we don't always need to copy, but we do need, because we are America, we are a melting pot of different ideas. So we need to put all these ideas together and to make one better single payer system for all of us. And we don't know how we would go. So, just making the generalization of, well, it's going to be, like slower wait lines. Well, we don't know that because we haven't done this idea yet. And a lot of politicians right now in Washington are very stingy on this idea, and they're not supporting Bernie's bill, which could potentially save you money by not you having to pay so much into the federal government for all these programs that are going to collapse by 2030, like Social Security. But it would also help us in, we could put more to the roads, or we could, build more into infrastructure.
All right, I'm gonna have to cut you off there, and I'm gonna have to let Civilized respond to that.
All right.
Well, I understand your argument that you think single-payer healthcare in general is better for the American people, but I really just cannot see why. I mean, Well, you might have just told me, but it wasn't a very good reason.
It was, because I just gave you all these things. It could
You
save
only-
us $500 billion a year due to bureaucratic spending.
Well,
And then you're like, well, I don't understand.
So you want to decrease bureaucratic spending
Yes,
by
because
implementing a bureaucratic program.
yeah.
that's not. Do you know what the bureaucracy is?
Yes,
What is it?
the bureaucracy is higher-ranking political figures.
No, it is not. Wrong. The bureaucracy is executive agencies that are run under the executive branch, and they are run by people who may not always have the best intentions for the American people. This is why you are spending for something that could be costing $20 be costed $400. This is a pretty good reason.
Wait.
Why? And a
So
lot of people, and you are actually a figure of most of the American people, because you get bureaucrats from like the House of Cards and everything, like those shows, and you think automatically like, okay, Kevin Spacey is like, a bureaucrat because he has a high power. He's like really corrupt in that, and it's kind of like
Well, he was elected. I would think that
he
bureaucrats.
was, but that doesn't mean that a corrupt official can always be elected. Remember this.
Hey, never mind.
Okay, so what I'm just saying is that if we cut bureaucratic spending, which is often involved in the multi-payer process, and this is how, because it says for every one doctor, there are 3 assistants doing all the background information and talking to the insurance companies. If we cut those people out, we would not need to pay so much for healthcare. Instead of going to the doctors and paying $150, $200, something most families in this country cannot afford, they can pay something rather to $5 or $10. I'm not saying healthcare should be cheap for an individual. I mean, should be expensive. I'm sorry. Should be free.
Did you
But I do
respond to
think,
GRA
but
saying?
I do. Dude, my iPad's off. I'm just like talking on the thing. So I think it should be rather $5 or $10, something like in Singapore.
Can you respond to GRA saying that would take away jobs?
Well, you do realize that when you so one, yes, this would take away jobs, but it would take away jobs. But I think it's only necessary though. Why should a mother of 3, decide whether or not to go hungry because she decided to take her kids to the doctor for a questionable, illness that they had? I think that's much more. I think we should look into the public's eye in their shoes and see what's up, because just simply the excuse of, oh, they're going to get kicked out. I don't think that's a good excuse.
All
But
right.
I do think
So
that people who do get kicked should get new government jobs.
since we only have about 3 minutes left, let's ask Civilized for his response, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
well, I think it's funny that you mentioned Singapore, and what I would say to that is you're going to mention a country who has a population of 5 million people compared to the United States, 300.
Did I not just tell you?
Not just tell me what.
I told you that I was going to divide the United States up like what zip codes do, how they divide sectors of the country up for the mail and postal service. I would do something just like that for single payer, so we have smaller populations, and these regions could pay for them, could pay and distribute the types of how much money is going into a certain region by itself. So people in one area don't pay as much as for paying for people who are sick in San Francisco. I don't think people in Augusta, Maine should be paying for that, healthcare in, San Diego, California. You know what I'm saying? So I would probably divide the regions up. And you're right, they do work in smaller population zones because there is less of a population, and if more, like this whole debacle of,
Hey, all right, Civilized can continue with his response, and then we have to end.
Well, I think that the best way for us to have a better healthcare system is to get government out of it completely, because of government regulations, higher demand, and making it
the free market.
I like how you just say the free market and that's it. Is the free market bad or something? Free market.
Yes.
And you say you're not a socialist. All right, I am
okay,
going to end the podcast here because
alright,
we're at 29
Conley
minutes.
just
You're right. I am partly
So-
a little bit. I'm like 1/4 socialist, 3/4 capitalist.
All right,
Alright, Conley
this is
just
done.
said the free